Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الفاتح الخاتم وعلى آله الكريم دار العظيم. السلام عليكم. Good evening, everyone. I'm back on my series of lectures on the topic reflection on the verses of the Holy Quran. If you can remember, in the last session, we were discussing the verses of the chapter of Al-Baqarah, specifically those that discuss the story of Prophet Abraham and the unity of the religion, that the religion with which Abraham was sent is the same religion all the prophets were sent. And you can see this, as I said earlier, in the manner in which the prophets were sent, and the manner in which they delivered the message and the responses they got from their people. You can see the similarity of responses as well as the similarity of the message. Most of the, or rather all of the contemporaries of prophets used to express their amazement and surprise that how could they be guided by a human being, a mortal prophet. They couldn't come to terms with the idea of having a mortal apostle, a mortal messenger from the Almighty Allah. They expected an angelic messenger, not a mortal one, because they felt that the fact that he's a human being is by all means comparable to them. That is why the Almighty Allah said in the chapter Surah Al-Tangabun, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم هو الذي خلقكم فمنكم كافر ومنكم مؤمن والله بما تعملون بصير خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق فصوركم وأحسن صوركم وإليه المصير يعلم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ويعلم ما تسرون وما تعلنون والله عليم بذات الصدور ألم يأتكم نبأ الذين كفروا من قبل فذاقوا وبال أمرهم ولهم عذاب أليم ذلك بأنه كانت تأتيهم رسلهم بالبينات فقالوا أبشر يهدوننا فكفروا وتولوا واستغنى الله والله غني حميد صدق الله العظيم. The bottom line here is the content of the last verse. ذلك بأنه كانت تأتيهم رسلهم بالبينات فقالوا أبشر يهدوننا فكفروا وتولوا واستغنى الله والله غني حميد. What caused the destruction of the bygone unbelievers? As if a question is raised. Although the Almighty Allah commenced this discussion with affirming the reality that right from the onset, human beings were created. Some of them are meant to be believers, others are meant to be unbelievers. He said, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ فَمِنْكُمْ كَافِرٌ وَمِنْكُمْ مُؤْمِنٌ. He is the one that created you. Among you are believers and some are unbelievers. Then the subsequent verses, having mentioned the recompense of the believers and the requital of the unbelievers, as if a question is raised, why the recompense, why the requital if it were as a result of predestination. That is, if the belief and unbelief came about as a result of divine preordination and predestination, then why the recompense for the believers? Why the requital for the unbelievers? Almighty Allah then confirmed the responsibility of creatures for what they did. That does not negate the fact that what they did was predestined by God. He said, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُ كَانَتْ تَأْتِيهِمْ رُسُلُهُم بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. The reason why the unbelievers will receive requital is that their apostles came to them with clear signs, clear veritable signs from God in order to prove the reality, to prove the fact that they were truly sent by God. Yet, with all this, their response was, Abasharun Yahdunana, is it a mortal that will guide us to the right path? They were amazed. To them, no mortal can guide a fellow mortal to the true religion. They expected the guidance from a supernatural creature like angel or any other creature. It may be a spiritual creature, but not mortal. Abasharun Yahdunana, a human being? Is it a human being that will guide us? Then they disbelieve as a result of that. فَكَفَرُوا وَتَوَلَّوْا, and they turned their backs. What was the divine response to this rejection of his message? As at the time they turned their backs, the Almighty Allah said, وَاسْتَغْنَى اللَّهُ. And the Almighty Allah proved his self-sufficiency, that he needed no creature to worship him. No creature will increase him in any way by worshiping him. Rather, it is the creature that will get increased and elevated by worshiping the Almighty Allah. وَاسْتَغْنَى اللَّهُ. The Almighty Allah becomes self-sufficient as he were, or rather he remains self-sufficient as he were. وَاللَّهُ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. The Almighty Allah is self-sufficient, is originally and currently self-sufficient and worthy of all praises. This is in consonance with the verses of the other chapters of Yunus or the Jonah, where the Almighty Allah said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ألف لام را تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم أكان للناس عجبا أن أوحينا إلى رجل منهم أن أنذر الناس وبشر الذين آمنوا أن لهم قدم صدق عند ربهم قال الكافرون إن هذا لسحر مبين أو لساحر مبين صدق الله العظيم. The chapter commenced with these ambiguous letters, Alif, Lam, Ra. These letters are considered as part of the complex and paradoxical verses of the Holy Quran. The Almighty Allah in the chapter of Ali Imran, or the family of Imran, divided the verses of the Holy Book into two. He said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. He is the one that revealed upon you the scripture. منه آيات محكمات. Some of its verses are precise and clear in meaning. Hunna Ummul Kitab, and they constitute the foundation of the book. Wa ukharu mutashabihat, and others ambiguous. Those ambiguous can be understood only by means of the precise and clear ones. So Alif Lam Ra or Alif Lam Mim Ha Mim Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad are parts of the ambiguous verses of the Holy Book, although ambiguity itself is divided into two. We have literal ambiguity, we have conceptual ambiguity. This Alif Lam Ra is part of the verses that are literally ambiguous because you can't unravel what exactly they mean. They mean because they are letters. Although some of the companions, as we said earlier, made an attempt to give them meaning. Scholars among them like Ibn Abbas, Allah well pleased with him, or like Ali ibn Abi Talib, Allah well pleased with him, were some of the companions that attempted to give meaning to those letters. Others, like Umm Aisha, used to abstain from interpreting them. Anyway, after this latest Dulumatul Silkayat Kitab al-Hakim, these are the verses of the glorious book. That is a book full of wisdom. Then a shock was expressed by the subsequent verse. أكان للناس عجبا أن أوحينا إلى رجل منهم أن أنذر الناس وبشر الذين آمنوا أن لهم قدم صدق عند ربهم. Just like he said, أبشر يهدوننا فكفروا وتولوا واستغنى الله. That is it something of a surprise? Does it cause any surprise and amazement to men that we send down revelation to a fellow human being who preached to them? We sent him a revelation commanding him that warn human beings, warn humankind, and anzirin nasa, wabashir allazina amanu, and give glad tidings to those who believe in the message. Anna lahum qadama sidqin inda rabbihim, that they will have gracious abode with their Lord in the hereafter. So you can see the message in its essence is the same, and the responses received by the prophets are the same. The amazement and surprise expressed by the unbelievers remain the same across the history of prophethood. So that means the message is the same, and the content as well as the context of the message also remain the same. You can see the essential part of the message, or rather the central idea of the entire messages with which all the prophets were sent, was to identify and worship, and was to believe in one and only God, and believe in him as the only God worthy of being worshipped, without ascribing any partner to him. And he's the creator of the universe. That is why whenever they are challenged, or whenever they were challenged by the people for miracles, they use the material phenomena in proving that they were truly prophets sent by God, by the creator of those phenomena. That is why whenever they wanted to prove their prophethood, when challenged by the people for proof, they will use the animate, or rather that is the physical world, the physical creatures, and prove beyond any matter of doubt that they are truly prophets. Because if it is not the same God who created those creatures that allowed them to exercise miracles, there is virtually no way they can prove that they are truly sent by God. That is why prophets like Moses were challenged by Pharaoh to go on in a contest with sorcerers and magicians so as to see whether what he was exercising was merely a magic rather than a miracle. And what happened was that Moses, his miracle defeated the magic and the sorcery exhibited by the Egyptian sorcerers, which proved beyond any matter of doubt that he was truly a prophet. So you can see, and another common feature of the messages they convey to their people is that as soon as they start gathering followers, then they will be subjected to all manner of persecution by their people. This happened to Abraham in the kingdom of Babylon when he was thrown into the fire, and the Almighty Allah delivered him. And it did happen to Moses and his people when Pharaoh subjected them to untold persecution just because they believed in the true God. And the Almighty Allah delivered them and destroyed Pharaoh and his people in the Red Sea. They got drowned in the Red Sea. And the same thing was true of the case of Jesus Christ and his people when they believed in him and in his message. The Roman emperor sent his people to kill Jesus Christ, and the Almighty Allah delivered him and lifted him up to the heaven. And the same was the fate of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, along with his companions in Mecca, when he invited them as his predecessors did invite their people. When he invited them to the true religion, they faced the same fate, the same manner of persecution suffered by his predecessors. So that was how his people were subjected to untold hardship and persecution in Mecca. And at the end of the day, for him to get them saved, he had to send them on migration to Ethiopia, Abyssinia, for their safety. So you can see, for you to identify the true religion, you need to understand the common features that they share. Why was Abraham the only man that was being persecuted along with his why was he the only person that was targeted by the Babylonian emperor when he declared the message with which he was sent? Why not any other person? Although in the case of Abraham, he couldn't convert any soul apart from his wife and his nephew, Lot. That is why when they intended to kill him, there was no one else to kill along with him. They decided to kill him alone because, after all, he didn't convert any other person apart from his wife and his nephew, Lot, Prophet Lot. Although as at that time he was not yet a prophet, he was merely a believer. And when Moses was sent to the Israelites and Egyptians, he also, in fact, even before he was sent, the Israelites were being persecuted by the Pharaoh of Egypt. We narrated how Moses was born under terrible circumstances, how he grew up, how he had to migrate to Midian, where he encountered Prophet Jethro and served him for 10 years, after which he got married to one of his daughters. And Pharaoh continued with his aggressive atrocities against the Israelites, until when the Almighty Allah commanded him to depart along with them in the night. And Pharaoh followed them, and they were delivered. The Almighty Allah got them delivered, and Pharaoh was destroyed along with his people. And the same thing was true of the case of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, how he was being subjected along with his people to all sorts of hardship. And this is the story also of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, in Mecca. So why is it that only the true religion, only the followers of the true religion are being persecuted? Why? This is a common feature that we need to understand. I am not asking to get an answer. I am just wondering. That means that we can identify the true religion only when we see that the whole world is against that particular religion. The world of Abraham was against no one else except Abraham. The world of Moses was against no one but Moses and the Israelites, because they were the ones following the true religion as at that time. The world in which Jesus Christ lived came against no other person except Christ and his followers, because they were the ones following the right religion as at that time. The same thing was true of Prophet Muhammad when he declared the message in Mecca. And up till today, check out which religion is under severe persecution today in the world. Is there any other religion apart from Islam? That means that you can see the tradition, you can see the common features, you can see, the fact that it is quite not surprising that today Islam is the most persecuted religion in the world, because it took it after the preceding messages, which remain part of the same religion, the religion of Islam, which all the prophets, all the bygone prophets were sent. I will stop here, inshallah. When I come back, I will continue exactly where I stopped. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lima ughliq wal-Khatim lima sabaq nasir al-haqi bil-haq wal-hadi ila siratika al-mustaqim wa ala alihi aqdam daril azim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin. Assalamu alaikum.